And we're back.
Part two. All right, so I walked away from the plaster for about 5 minutes. It's definitely getting thicker. It's getting more, pancake batter consistency. So I'm gonna start globbing this on, and I'm just doing this by hand. It's kind of hard in the angle that I have right now, but. I think it's not quite thick enough. I still want it to be thicker. You can see it's really starting to like cascade off of here. I want it to be a little thicker. So now this plaster, all this plaster here, I'm gonna have to scrape all this off. Okay, so whenever you're making your piece, just be aware like wherever plaster goes, you're gonna have to clean it up. Okay, so do your best to not make a mess, but just know that if you do make a mess, you're gonna have to clean it up. All right, we're getting there. It's like almost soft serve ice cream at this point. All this down here, I'm just gonna have to go. But once I do start globbing it on like this, I'm sure there's probably a more scientific term than this. What would you call it?
I don't think it's one of those things where we ever got past the pet name sort of terms for it.
So, glob it on. Make sure you're still thickening up that wall. Oh yeah. Still kind of stirring it up. Still feels like it's getting thicker at the base for some reason. I'm kind of trying to scrape that off the bottom of the bucket. And as I'm doing this, obviously, like gravity's doing its thing, right? So gravity's actually thickening up this bottom area really well. So that's why I'm really focusing more on the top, right? Pick up some of that down there. And ideally, I like plaster molds that are at least an inch thick. You know, you don't want them to be too thick. Like more than like an inch and a half is like a little much. But if it's about an inch thick, that's kind of perfect. So this bucket of plaster is actually serving me really well for the size of this object. And you kind of got to be careful. Like it's starting to feel like if I put too much weight up here, it's going to really start to like slide off and have like little landslides. So I need this to actually stiffen up probably a little bit more before I add any. Does that make sense? Like it's still kind of a soft material, and it's weighty. But look at this. This is perfect. I don't know. We're gonna try it. Okay. Hopefully it's not gonna cause a landslide. Landslide. Speaking of Stevie Nicks. You guys know Stevie Nicks went to school here? Yeah. San Jose State alum. What's that? Is that right? Yeah, I honestly I don't even know if it was in music either. And if you guys don't know who Stevie Nicks is, Fleetwood Mac.
I see.
you can see how thick it's getting now, right? It's really a really great place now. Now I gotta kind of work fast. If there's any like edits I want to make, now's the time I gotta use it. It's
Come
gonna
around
get
to
to the
this
point.
side. You've got some very inconsistent blobs over here. Yeah, right there.
You hear?
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, you don't really want a whole lot of air pockets in there because those air pockets, part of it's not going to absorb moisture from the clay. The thing about the two-part press molds are, the great thing about them is that it gives you a lot more flexibility, like when you're starting to put the parts together, than when you take the mold off. Like with slip casting, you have to be super accurate. Like there's a really small window of time that is ideal to actually pull the mold apart and pull your piece out of the mold, right? With press mold, it's a lot more forgiving. Okay, so that's why another reason why we're doing press mold versus slip casting for our first mold making. All right.
That plastic on beyond the wall here.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't even gone beyond the wall. I'm gonna clean that up. And down to the edge of the wall. There we go. Okay, so I got this huge mess. I'm gonna have to get a scraper. I'll clean it up. My bucket is obviously got a lot of plaster in it. I want to let that sit. Okay, I'm gonna let that cure properly. So I'll let it sit for at least a half hour. Once it's really hard, I can then flex it and empty it into the trash. None of this ever at any stage, even when it's like hard, plaster is not friends with plumbing, so it never can ever go into the sinks. So this is where you have to use this bucket. We'll empty this periodically, change out the water, but this basically the plaster just has to go straight to the dumpster. Okay. It'll sit at the bottom of the pipes, and the pipes will get all clogged up, and then it's no good. So that's pretty much it. On Monday, I'll show you the second part. That's it.